paint is pigment and medium. In oil paint, the medium is oil, and the pigment is like it's natural pigment or it is a man-made pigment. So I buy already made paint, and then I make it more transparent. So what I do is I add more medium to the painting. By adding more medium to the painting, I make it more transparent. What will I say? That it's like if you have normal paint, all pigment particles will fall on top of each other. So it means if you, for example, you're painting with dark green, after 10 or 20 layers, the dark green will become too dark and it will look like black. And when I'm painting in 10 layers with transparent dark green, it stays green because every particle of pigment is wrapped like in glass. So it means light is going through the painting. This makes that light is part of the painting. This is also makes it like make it light dependent. What's the simplest way to explain that? So if, like here, the light is coming from the side, and it will add white to the painting. It's daylight, so the light goes in a different way through the painting. So what you see is reflected space, because there are so many layers. There is no more structure from the canvas.
Yes,
I'm hustling everything together, but okay, you'll make something out of it. So as long as you have structure on the canvas, you will have highlights and shadow sides. So the painting would never be glossy, because the medium I'm using is also glossy. Adding, maybe I can demonstrate it. It will be better if I close this.
Please.
That's quite clear. It's not only darker, but has another feel to it when I add artificial light. You get another painting. When I'm moving around, or you're standing here, you see the reflection. So depending on your point of view, you see something different. The most important conclusion about that is that although the painting is not changing, circumstances are. So something that doesn't change is already very difficult to describe, because it's not all the time, it doesn't look all the time the same way. The conclusion from that is there is no, the truth doesn't exist. It's always an interpretation, which means everything is subjective. So real objectivity doesn't exist. Also not in science either, because you're always measuring and comparing with things you already know. You're always calculating.
It's a philosophy of your life and
Yeah,
art.
it's not. I think that's what I can't say the truth, because I just it doesn't exist. But that's how I feel things are working. So But that makes it very interesting. What it means that I might know more about art than other people, but you can still talk to each other, and what you're telling about what you're seeing, if you're honest, has for both, it's valuable from both sides, because I can't look in a naive way that somebody who knows nothing about art, and I can tell something else, and they're both true. Not the real truth, because that doesn't exist, but they're both valuable. It means we are all equal. It's not because people always telling, so it's not like a pamphlet, or I'm not teaching anybody. I just, every work is a proposition, and then I make another work, it's another proposition.
Great.
That's what I do. It also means that the strongest power is doubt. You always have to doubt. Yeah.
Yes.
You always have to put a question mark behind everything. If you're looking at the news, they're telling you this is the news, and the camera is in that direction. But it doesn't mean that it's the most important thing that's happening there. Maybe there's something behind their backs that's not so attractive or spectacular for the news, but that has more importance than what they are showing. Everything is already chosen by someone. Somebody makes a choice and says, I put this in the newspaper, or this is on television as news. You have to, that's okay, because otherwise we wouldn't know anything, but you always have to think, is this real? And as real as they say, and as important as they say, we get a different news than they get in Australia, because it's all the news is close to home. So I think it's important to put question marks in everything you read or that's been taught to you. People, at first people were annoyed by looking at my paintings because they were seeing themselves, so they started a dance, because they were searching for the position where they don't have reflection. So if you look at this painting, you can see us in it, you can see the street on the other side, but if you go to this position, you can blend all these things, of almost everything out, so then you can see the picture without the reflection, without those things. That was what people were doing. So they were aware of their own appearance, of their own place in a space. So it's just about being aware that things are going on, but that if you're driving a car, you're not seeing everything. You're seeing everything that's related to and what's needed to drive a car.
Yes, the road.
Yeah, and if people looking at the tree, they just see a tree. But you can focus on leaves or moving in the wind or things like that. So, but we just use just a little bit from what we are seeing is really seeping through to our brain.
Yes.
There's a lot we do. You can do that. You can't be that active every time, but you have to be aware of things. And nowadays it's all about the package. Everything is busy on their phones and communicating, but they are not really communicating. And people buy things they don't need, and because somebody else has it and says it's good and it's important and things like that. So we're only looking at the outer side of things, not at the real things. No. You don't put questions like, do I need it? Is this necessary?
Yeah.
You just are running around.
Yes, you just follow.
Yeah, you're going
like
to
a robot.
You're going to work to buy things somebody else made, and they have to be sold. Otherwise, economics will
Yeah.
And
Use.
everybody is making everybody else afraid because you have to have some money on the side because otherwise there will be a big crisis, things like that. So, but you're manipulated all the time.
Absolutely.
And
I'm not trying to stop manipulation.
No, I make people, if in the best case, I make people aware of things, that's all. I don't sell anything, I sell paintings.
Yes.
But, I don't even sell them myself. Galleries do.
It's funny. But yes, and you try to push people to awareness also.
I don't push, I just, it's
A
just,
chance.
you can just walk by and ignore it. That's fine by me. I wouldn't like it if everybody does that, but no, you can just walk by and ignore it. But because it's reflective and because people are obsessed with their own image, they will have a brief look because they see something is moving and they're not expecting something moving in a painting.
And it's some kind of evolution in art.
Yeah, everything goes step by step. So we talked about Picasso before.
Yes.
So everything that's already done, you don't have to do anymore.
Yeah.
So you have one had Malevich, for example.
Malevich, Casimir,
or Mondrian.
Mondrian,
People like that who were almost preoccupied by the bare minimum that was needed to make something work. You know that Malevich made a black square painting and put it in the corner like an icon.
Yes.
So everybody thinks that's the end.
Yes.
What can someone else do to
next?
Yeah. First of all, I have to say I'm painting because that's what I can do best. So if there would be an easier way for me to do or to express what I want to express, I would choose for the easier way. But that is, for me, that's the easiest way to do that. I don't want to make, for example, videos or installations where you need electricity. This is painting on itself is bare minimum. It's a stretcher, it's canvas, and it's paint. You don't need extra light. You don't need. You can move.
You don't need brushes. You use some.
Yeah, and I use squeegees.
Yeah.
Homemade squeegees. So, that's also an evolution. I try to work with brushes, but as long as you're working with brushes, there is a distance between thinking and doing. So you already have a concept in your head, even if it's a millisecond, and then you're doing it. I want to be in the middle of things, so thinking and doing is happening at the same time. Great. You wouldn't see it on the painting because they look like it's very easy. This painting looks like it's barely touched.
Yes.
The color comes in the room like.
Shall we show your instruments? Yes.
I use color not as an illustration. Most of the time, color is used to underline things, to make things pop out. In this case, it's like color is independent. It's color without referring to water, or in the case of red. If I make a red painting, there should be no direct reference to blood or to tomatoes or things like that. So it has to be a red without a direct connection to what we already know.
Mm.
If you're looking longer, there's a simple reason. If you're looking longer, your eyes adapt.
Yeah.
So when you're focusing into the painting, it's like your camera. It will measure the focus of your eye, and then you will see more things than when you're just scanning the surface. Okay, we have it's a bit a problem today because we have very grey weather, but if there would be a blue sky with clouds, you would see the different light, and then you would see that a painting can go inwards, like it's sad almost, and then suddenly the sun comes through and then it lights up. It's not like the light is coming from outside, it's coming from the painting, which is really happening. It's not a fantasy. It's due to the fact that there are so many layers in that there is non-colored material inside, so the light can travel to the first layer actually. Great. We are a product of our society. I grew up in Belgium, you grew up in Russia, so we have a different perspective. We still have defending mechanisms in our body. We inherited from thousands of years ago.
Yes.
So there is this. There could be this reflex to something that's different and could be a threat for us. But on the other hand, that's something you should correct immediately, because we know we don't need those reflections anymore. And that's what people are trying to tell you. That people with darker skin or Muslims are thinking completely different. That's not true. For some it's true, but they are brought up that way or manipulated that way to do things like that. It has nothing to do with each individual. I'm not believing in groups, by the way. So my strongest belief is in each person, not when they're with five. Already there is some kind of code and compromise, so it's not that pure anymore. Honor and religion are coming from the same desk. They're both construction, in my eyes, they're both constructions to make people followers, to make them
ships.
To manipulate them and to make them do what they want, what you want them to do. There are people who are very religious, and that's their right to be so. But I don't understand it. It's a concept I haven't a clue, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't see. I understand things like the Bible and the Quran, because they were a way to describe how people should live together.
Yeah. Rituals.
So, yeah, but in a time, in what is it, 10,000 years, 2,000 years ago, or 1,600 years ago, so that I accept, and I think that it was useful, but was never meant to be a pamphlet or a
Yeah, but now it's not. It's not important.
It could be important for people still to find some inspiration, but not if the interpretation, you can make an interpretation of what you're reading, but another one cannot do it for you. So you have to do it yourself. If somebody is saying, for instance, that men and women are not equal, there was a time that everybody had his task to survive.
Yeah.
If the situation changes, then you have to change as well. So
Absolutely, I agree. We are talking about philosophers, thinkers who write about your art.
No, not about art. About philosophy in general.
Yes.
It's
And what's the general mistake they make?
well, there are some great ideas, and the mistake most of the philosophers make is that they try to make the circle complete. And there should be some voids. You don't have to develop a theory that's. If you have a few good thoughts, it doesn't mean you have to think it all through and you adapt it to everything in life. There should be. It's like you can, if you say a football player. Let's see the philosopher as a football player, and well, at his best, a philosopher gives a good assist. At its worst, he tries to score himself. You understand what I want to say? That's
Yeah.
like Wittgenstein. They're great, but then it goes on and it goes on,
Yes.
and it doesn't fit anymore.
Yes. Yes.
You have to give some hints, but you don't have to write it out completely, because it doesn't work.
Okay.
Just have to prepare the ground, give it water, things like that, but you don't pull it to let it grow. It's like
Yeah. And what is your favorite paint?
my favorite painter. I don't have favorite painters.
You are.
No. There's so
And,
many things. I don't have favorite. German. I like Picasso. I was in New York last week in front of Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, which is, I think, is one of the greatest paintings ever. But okay, there are many good things. I liked Anish Kapoor, for example. I like his work, but not his recent work, because it's too perfect.
Mm.
And when it's too perfect, it dies in my eyes. It becomes kind of design thing.
What is your favorite philosopher?
I don't have a favorite philosopher, and I don't know that many philosophers. So,
And what kind of books do you read?
not as many as I would like. I don't have the time, so I'm only reading when I'm on holiday and things like that. Otherwise, I'm always busy.
Can I ask you, what is the price of your painting?
A 120 by 19 painting like this, it's 10,000 euros without taxes.
Okay. It's average price. Yeah?
Yeah, it's a real price.
Real.
So there is no manipulation in it. It's what it costs to make this painting and to bring it in circulation. So every painting goes in a crate. It has to be transported to galleries. The galleries have their own percentage, because I never sell my own work.